Tonight on NewsWatch, pleading for her husband's release. CBN News sits down with the wife of an American pastor imprisoned in Iran.
Plus, new sanctions in the Middle East, but not where you might expect. Why Israel is about to face harsh European Union penalties.
And from picking up trash to forced prostitution, how one of India's so-called untouchables found faith and learned to forgive. All this and more tonight on NewsWatch. Good evening. I'm Mark Martin.
And I'm Wendy Griffith. We begin tonight with news out of Kansas. A man there has been arrested after authorities say he was planning a terror attack at the Wichita airport.
The 58-year-old was reportedly radicalized after reading Islamic extremist material on the internet. The suspect, Terry Lee Lowen, worked at the airport. Authorities say he spent months developing a plan to drive a car full of explosives into an airport terminal. Lowen now faces multiple charges, including trying to provide material support to a foreign terrorist group.
And for more on this, we turn now to our terrorism analyst, Eric Stakelbeck. Eric, the suspect doesn't really fit the typical profile of a jihadist. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, Wendy, a 58-year-old white male. This is astounding. Look, we've covered so many of these terror plots on U.S. soil over the past few years here on NewsWatch, Wendy, and every time it seems like usually it's a young Muslim male, many times of Middle Eastern or South Asian descent, but we've seen a pattern here over the last few months. And if you look at the Boston bombers in April, Wendy, two young white males. This is also a white male, but 58 years old. When did he convert to Islam? It seems like he is a relatively recent convert, Wendy, radicalized online. This opens up a whole new can of worms to see someone in this demographic turn to jihad.
It really does, Eric. Is there a growing threat of Muslims here in the U.S. being radicalized?
You know, Wendy, we've seen this time and time again. Since 2009 in particular, dozens of arrests on American soil of usually young American Muslims. Big problem. We see plot after plot. Look, we've had great law enforcement work, Wendy, and a lot of luck, quite frankly. Think back to the Times Square bombing in May 2010. The bomb didn't go off. Underwear bomber, Christmas 2009, the bomb didn't go off. So some luck there as well, but a very persistent threat. And by the way, this suspect in this Wichita plot was an employee of the airport, Wendy. He had a security card which granted him access to sensitive areas. This is a jihadist dream to have that kind of access.
Very scary. Eric Stakelbeck, we always appreciate your insights. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Wendy.
Police responded to reports of an active shooter at a Colorado high school tonight. The suspected shooter is said to be dead due to a self-inflicted gunshot wound. Arapahoe High School is located in suburban Denver. Here you can see students being evacuated from the building. Details are still emerging tonight. And for the latest on this story, visit our website, cbnnews.com.
Nagmeh Abedini, the wife of the American pastor imprisoned in Iran, is asking America's lawmakers not to abandon her husband. She went all the way to Congress with that plea. After Thursday's testimony, she spoke exclusively with CBN's John Jessup. She tells him how her husband's imprisonment has affected her family.
Nagmeh Abedini describes herself as a normal, everyday mom, but for the past year and a half, her life has been anything but.
It's just reassuring to know there's people standing with you. And really, this hearing today was one of those moments where I knew I was not alone. There was people in our government standing with me.
Last summer, during a trip to launch an orphanage for young, unwanted girls in Iran, her husband, Pastor Saeed Abedini, was arrested and charged with threatening Iran's national security. But the real crime, according to his family and attorneys, is something most of us take for granted: his religious faith. In 2000, Abedini left Islam to become a Christian. He has been beaten and tortured, and with his health declining, he's now serving an 8-year sentence in a prison reserved for the country's most violent criminals.
I know where he's at. I know the government can't take the one thing he has, and that's his faith in Jesus.
His wife made the trek from their home in Idaho to testify on Capitol Hill, telling lawmakers she felt forsaken by her own government when the U.S. failed to demand Saeed's release as part of the recently brokered nuclear deal with Tehran.
I was hoping with all my heart that our government would not abandon him.
She felt like it did, putting human rights and religious freedom on the back burner for the world to see. Lawmakers expressed outrage.
We've been trying to get Pastor Abedini freed. You know, he's in jail and really apparently under harsh conditions in Iran. And we really think that should have been part of the negotiations. I think we need to be more forceful, and it needs to be a primary part of our discussions that you really shouldn't, a country that we're having negotiation with shouldn't be holding hostage, you know, one of our citizens, and for trumped up religious allegations.
For Nagmeh, she says the failure reminded her of one of Jesus' parables.
It's like leaving the 99 sheep and going after the one. That's the heart of God. He cares about that one person. That he's the God of justice for a nation, but also for one person. And I pray that God gives whoever is, be it President Obama or Secretary of State John Kerry or whoever it is around them that's making that decision, that they would get the heart of God.
With two young kids, Rebecca and Jacob, she says it gets especially tough during birthdays and special occasions. And with Christmas around the corner, it will be another holiday without a husband and a father.
What we've started doing is set an empty place for Saeed for celebrations and to remember him. You know, remembering him, praying for him.
Through it all, Nagmeh has been encouraged by the prayers and support of fellow believers and human rights advocates. She's been equally surprised that they've been encouraged by her strength.
I hope people can see you can cling to the Lord and just be okay with whatever happens in your life and just have that peace and joy. And I hope people see that and they see that it's not me. When they say you're a strong person, I really want to say, I hope you see Jesus in this because I'm not a strong person.
John Jessup, CBN News, Capitol Hill.
Yeah, you definitely see Jesus in Nagmeh. For more on how you can join those around the world calling for Pastor Saeed's release, visit our website, cbnnews.com.
I really feel like she's a modern-day Esther, Mark.
I agree.
Well, the United Nations Security Council has welcomed the nuclear agreement reached with Iran last month, but warned sanctions will remain in place until a final deal is reached.
As our negotiators seek a comprehensive deal, we wish them the best. Yet until there is a deal, this council must maintain pressure on Iran.
Iran agreed to stop enriching uranium over the next 6 months in exchange for no new sanctions during that period. Israel, however, warns against easing sanctions on Iran. It argues the Islamic Republic's nuclear program is not peaceful, and only international pressure will get Iran to fully dismantle its nuclear weapons program. The U.S. Senate is pushing for more sanctions if Iran violates the terms of the current agreement. Meanwhile, the European Union is about to impose harsh economic sanctions on a country in the Middle East, and it's not Iran, it's Israel.
And these new rules could lead to the creation of a Palestinian state right next door to Israel. Chris Mitchell brings us the story from Brussels, Belgium.
New economic guidelines would prohibit money from the EU to Israeli communities beyond what's called the Green Line, also known as the West Bank. In order to receive funding, private Israeli entities must prove they have no ties to the West Bank, the Golan Heights, and East Jerusalem. The economic impact could run into the millions. Some believe the move is part of a growing anti-Semitism moving across Europe. Those new EU guidelines are being established here in Brussels, Belgium, at the European Parliament. They represent a major economic challenge to Israel and could predetermine the borders of a future Palestinian state.
And these guidelines that basically restrict any type of cooperation, financial cooperation between Europe and these disputed territories. And it's more complicated than you would think, because even if you would have one particular university wanting to engage in a multi-million program with the EU, if you happen to have one professor living, say, in East Jerusalem, it would be impossible with these new guidelines.
Andrew Tucker of Christians for Israel International says the guidelines put Europe in the position of creating a Jew-free state.
But I think the thing that concerns us most is the signal that it's giving. And we're concerned that Europe is on a slippery slope towards enforcing the creation of a Palestinian state and it will be a Palestinian state where Jews will not be welcome.
Tucker and others feel this slippery slope would pressure Israel to create a future Palestinian state based on the so-called 1967 borders, divide Jerusalem, and make it illegal for Jews to live there.
There's nothing in the guidelines to say that Jews are not allowed to live in a new Palestinian state, but we would see it as part of a broader project whereby Europe is saying all Israeli settlements are illegal, which means any Jew living in so-called Eastern Jerusalem, and you know better than I do, you know this is the heart of Jewish Jerusalem, Judea and Samaria, is illegal. Once you buy into that, then it's a question of implementing administrative steps to make it a reality, and the guidelines is just one example.
Israel and the EU did sign an economic agreement recently called Horizon 2020, but the financial restrictions remain in place for the disputed territories. Israel's representative to the EU feels that hurts both Israelis and Palestinians.
At the end of the day, if we are talking about the territories behind the 67 borders, it means also that settlements, but also Palestinians living around these settlements are not going to benefit from these grants.
It reminds Sandel of the anti-Semitism spawned in Europe during the 1930s.
For me, this is anti-Semitism 2.0. It's more sophisticated, but it's very effective in terms of demonizing Jews, demonizing the Jewish state, and making life very difficult for those in particular who would want to live in these disputed territories. I know many people will be upset by hearing me stating this, but I do see similarities. Then they simply said, don't buy from Jews. Today it's boycott Israel.
Chris Mitchell, CBN News, the European Parliament, Brussels, Belgium.
The War Memorial Cross on top of Mount Soledad in California must come down. That's the ruling from a federal judge in San Diego. He says the 43-foot cross violates the so-called separation of church and state. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled in 2011 that the cross is unconstitutional, and the Supreme Court decided not to take the case, so it went back to the federal judge. But he says the order to take down the cross would be put on hold if there is an appeal. The American Center for Law and Justice calls the decision to remove the cross, quote, deeply flawed. They announced plans today to file an amicus brief in case of an appeal.
Coming up, killing in the name of compassion? How a European country is one step closer to child euthanasia.
In 2008, my husband Gary departed for heaven. I was still grieving. And then to find out I had cancer, I began praying, God, how do I do this? Where do I do this? Cancer Treatment Centers of America was the place. Dr. Neelam outlined a plan that would take care of my mind and my body, and she prayed with me.
For Bible-believing Christians, we're able to pray with them in a much deeper way as they begin to really rely upon their faith.
At Cancer Treatment Centers of America, we believe in the power of faith and prayer as indispensable allies in the fight against complex and advanced stage cancer.
I'm back in Telluride on the mountain skiing. I feel strong and healthy.
Advanced medicine and technology.
And I am a survivor.
The warm embrace of the spirit and the power of prayer.
These are happy tears.
Please go to cancercenter.com/faith. Appointments available now. Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Care that never quits.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Belgium is one step closer to legalizing the euthanasia of children now that the Senate there has overwhelmingly passed a bill allowing it. Belgium already allows euthanasia for adults. The new bill removes all age limits. It would allow children to choose to die if they are in great pain and suffer from a terminal condition, a decision many say a child is not equipped to make.
The child doesn't have the maturity to get married or to buy alcohol or to buy cigarettes. And now we are trying to say he might have the possibility to ask for euthanasia.
Good point. A child would need parental consent and they would have to submit a written request to die. The measure now goes to that country's House of Representatives, where it's expected to pass.
North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un has executed his own uncle. Pyongyang released a statement calling Jong Song-taek a traitor. The country alleges he was planning a military coup to challenge his nephew's power. Jong was considered the country's second in command. Just days ago, North Korea also accused Jong of corruption, womanizing, gambling, and taking drugs. In the wake of the execution, the South Korean Defense Ministry is increasing its surveillance activities. They're also working with the U.S. to establish a task force to deal with any North Korean provocation.
Our government expects that North Korea's recent development could bring a bloody purge and a reign of terror.
Many South Korean government branches have been put on high alert.
Still to come, how one ministry is working to bring new life to women in India.
Jim is 38, mortgage, married, 3 great kids. He wants to protect his family with a $500,000 term life insurance policy. What do you think it'll cost him? $100 a month? 60? 40? Actually, none of the above. Jim can get a $500,000 policy from a highly rated insurer for under $19 a month. His secret? SelectQuote. SelectQuote is impartial. They'll comparison shop the pick of insurance companies like these to give you a choice of your best prices. SelectQuote has great savings on term life for women, too. Jim's wife, Deidre, can get a $500,000 policy for under $16 a month. SelectQuote has helped make term life insurance affordable for hundreds of thousands of people since 1985. How about you? Just call this number or go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote. We shop. You save.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Welcome back. Christians and Muslims in India are working together to demand equal constitutional rights. But Indian police recently attacked peaceful protesters with water cannons and canes. The protest was organized by churches and Muslim groups. They want legal rights for Christian and Muslim Dalits. Those are people of a lower caste in India. They used to be called untouchables. Dalits, who are Hindus, Buddhists, and Sikhs, have certain rights that Muslim and Christian Dalits do not. Religion News Service reports that about 70% of the Christians in India are Dalits.
Women in India say society there needs to change its attitude towards their gender. For years, Christian ministries have been working to help Indian women overcome the odds. In tonight's Focus Report, George Thomas tells us about one lady who fought against terrible poverty and abuse and learned to forgive.
It's been said the most beautiful people are those who've known defeat, known suffering, known struggle, and have found their way out of the depths. Rupa Raju is one of them.
I've had a difficult life since my childhood and experienced more horrible things than most people my age.
You see, at a young age, Rupa was forced by her parents to join the ranks of India's so-called rag pickers. These are men, women, and young children who rummage through filthy garbage heaps in the cities of India, looking for anything that can be recycled and sold. Plastic, bottles, metal parts, pieces of glass, rotting discarded food.
My day started at 4 or 5 in the morning, and I picked trash for 10 to 12 hours.
On a good day, she'd earn about $2, and that was a good day. Here on the streets, where dogs were her only companion, and millions of squirming maggots, flies, rats, and crows, a constant distraction, she'd compete with other rag pickers for a few scraps.
When I got older, my mother told me I wasn't bringing in enough money picking trash, so I was forced to sleep with men to bring more money. I became a prostitute.
With tears welling up in her eyes, she describes the rage she felt toward her parents.
I thought of running away. I didn't trust my parents. How could they do such a thing to me? I was angry. I wanted to kill them. I wanted something terrible to happen to them.
Rupa is a Dalit, a so-called untouchable. Indian society labels Dalits lowest of the low, impure, less than human. Almost all rag pickers are Dalits. And like her, many young girls end up as prostitutes or get caught in a web of human trafficking.
When I think about it, I begin to cry.
But that's the past. Tonight's graduation night, and Rupa is all smiles.
The Rupa of old is not the Rupa you see today. I cannot begin to explain to you what God has done in my life.
She has God and Jivaleen Kumar to thank for her transformation and this momentous evening.
We really look forward to this night because we see our women being liberated, being emancipated.
Jivaleen Kumar runs Tarika Women's Center, a Christian ministry that takes in, rehabilitates, and empowers scores of young women at risk. Almost 2 years ago, Rupa came to the center looking for help. Here, she got counseling, learned how to speak English, took sewing and computer classes, and eventually had her dignity restored. She also met dozens of other young women like herself who had similar life experiences.
What I like to personally communicate to them is that I would never ever give up on any one of those women, no matter how many times they fall, because I know it is a struggle for them.
Today, the Tarika Center is just one of a handful of Christian ministries operating here in India, trying desperately to rescue thousands of Dalit women from human trafficking and sexual bondage. For many of these victims, such ministries are a lifeline to a better future. Rupa says it was at the center she discovered with great delight her worth in God's eyes.
I come from a Hindu background. I knew very little about Jesus Christ. When I came to Tarika, I started reading the Bible and then understood what freedom really means and how much I mean to God.
Ultimately, it's the Bible's view of them that Kumar says brings lasting transformation.
They can't believe it because all these years they've been told that they are lower than animals. And here we are telling them that they are created in the image of God. And that just hits them, that just blows them away.
On a recent Friday evening, Rupa joined 105 women on stage for a graduation ceremony honoring their completion of an 18-month course at Tarika. And sitting in the audience that night were Rupa's mother and father. They told CBN News this was the proudest moment of their lives.
The Tarika Center has done a great job. My daughter is a different person.
I feel bad for the things we did to her, but now I want her to study well and have a good future.
And perhaps it's this image of Rupa holding her father's hand that speaks volumes of one life transformed by the power of the gospel. She told CBN News later she's forgiven her parents for forcing her into prostitution.
Every night before I go to bed, I thank God for Tarika's center. I thank God for rescuing me from my past.
These days, she works as a confidence sales assistant in a large department store located on the most famous shopping street in the city. Same street, by the way, where she once picked trash. Her real desire, though, is to minister to broken and abused young women.
There are many people who took care of me and showed love to me. I want to do the same for others. That will make me happy.
George Thomas, CBN News, Bangalore, India.
Wow, what a powerful story. Up next, see the surprise Christmas shoppers at a Chicago mall got this week. Back in a moment.
Announcing an important breakthrough in healthcare that can benefit everyone. If you or anyone you love needs affordable health insurance, regardless of a pre-existing medical condition, call Quick Insurance 123 today and get the immediate relief you deserve. Quick Insurance 123 was created to provide affordable health insurance to all uninsured Americans, with or without pre-existing conditions. This is not a discount card. This is a real insurance program that lets you choose from many affordable health plans, with access to doctors, hospitals, emergency services, and more. So call the number on your screen now and get the health coverage you need just for calling. As a special bonus, we'll send you a free prescription savings card that could save you up to 85% on your prescriptions. That's right, you could save up to 85% on your prescriptions just for calling. Call Quick Insurance 123 to find out how you can get affordable health insurance and receive your free prescription savings card just for calling. Don't wait. Getting a free quote is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Call today.
Attention sleep apnea patients. Are you tired of the expense and hassle of getting your CPAP and BiPAP supplies? Are you fed up with dealing with ill-fitting, leaking, or worn-out masks and straps? Are you worried about the effects that unsanitary tubes, cushions, and filters have on your health? If you said yes to any of these questions, Allied Medical Supply Network has the solution to your problems. You could qualify to have your supplies regularly delivered right to your door at little or no cost to you. That's right, no more inconvenience, no worn-out masks and straps, no more unsanitary equipment, just restful sleep. Call Allied Medical Supply Network today to determine if you may qualify to receive your fresh, brand-name supplies at little or no cost. Don't delay. Call us now to see if you are eligible to save money on regular delivery of your CPAP and BiPAP supplies. Call 1-800-815-9947. That's 1-800-815-9947. Or go to cpapsupplyhelpline.com.
Finally today, Christmas shopping can get a bit hectic and sometimes it can rob the season of its magic.
Yeah, that's why a Chicago mall took the Christmas shopping experience to a whole new level. A crowd in the city's busy shopping district got treated to a concert from distinguished cellist Yo-Yo Ma. Tickets to see him can cost hundreds of dollars, but the lucky shoppers got to enjoy a live performance, that is, pop-up performance for free.
We just came to Chicago for like 24 hours, and I'm seeing Yo-Yo Ma. So awesome. Time to kill because I don't want to get there too early. And I just lucked into this, so this is thrilling.
From someone who used to take cello lessons, that would be quite the experience. The event was a promotion for a community outreach project that Yo-Yo Ma leads with the Chicago Symphony.
That's great.
I did. Yes.
Cello
lessons. Yes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You have to give us a little private concert next
no.
time.
Lost a little bit of it. Thanks for watching.
Have a great weekend. Good night.